Meet Homelander, a dog whose story is marked by pain and overcoming. Ever since he was a puppy, his life has been a reflection of the cruelty that many animals face. He grew up tied up in a yard, never knowing the gentle touch of a loving hand or the warmth of a hug. What for other dogs was normal, running, playing, feeling the wind on his face, for Homelander was just a distant dream. His days were spent in solitude, confined by a chain that limited his movements, surrounded only by the silence of an empty and desolate space. He never knew what it was like to be petted, never heard kind words, or felt the comfort of a home. Years passed, and Homelander's harsh reality remained the same. His life was a routine of suffering, a daily battle for emotional and physical survival. However, fate, sometimes cruel, can also be ironic. On a day that could have been the beginning of his liberation, Homelander finally managed to escape from that prison. With the chain broken, he felt for a brief moment the euphoria of freedom, something he had never experienced before. But in a tragic twist of fate, this new hope was brutally cut short. As he ran, disoriented and confused, through the streets, he was hit by a car. The impact was devastating. The accident left Homelander seriously injured. His legs and hips suffered multiple fractures, leaving him incapacitated, immobile and in agony on the side of the road. The following days were a lonely and desperate struggle. Without the strength to get up and in unbearable pain, Homelander remained there, at the mercy of fate. His weakened body resisted, but the physical suffering was accompanied by an even deeper emotional one. Homelander, who had never known love, now faced what seemed to be the end of his life, completely alone. Finally, fate brought a new twist. A kind-hearted person, passing by on the road, noticed the dog, dejected and in dire need of help. As he approached, he saw in his eyes the silent plea for help. Without hesitation, this person rescued Homelander and rushed him to the vet. The scene at the vet's office was one of despair, but also of hope. Upon assessing his injuries, the medical team realized the gravity of the situation. The fractures in his hips and legs were severe, and the dog's general condition indicated that he had already suffered for several days without any treatment. However, Homelander still had a chance. The veterinary team, driven by the determination to save this dog, initiated an emergency plan to treat his injuries. The first step was a complex surgery to repair the broken bones. It was a risky procedure, but necessary. For hours, the surgeons worked meticulously, placing plates and pins to restore the structure that the accident had destroyed. Homelander was sedated, but his fight for life continued with every effort of the doctors. After the long and delicate surgery, he was taken to recovery. However, the surgery was only the beginning of a long and painful journey. After the procedure, Homelander still needed intensive physical therapy to regain mobility. The sessions were exhausting. Every attempt to stand up required a monumental effort, and the pain he felt was evident. Still, he faced each day with impressive resilience. The treatment required patience and dedication from both the team and Homelander. There were days when progress was barely noticeable, and others when setbacks threatened the hope of a full recovery. But Homelander never gave up. He seemed to understand that this was his chance to finally experience a different life, a life with less suffering and more dignity. Weeks turned into months, and little by little, Homelander began to show signs of recovery. The pain, which had been constant, gradually subsided. His muscles, which had been weak and atrophied, began to strengthen. Step by step, he learned to walk again. With each physical therapy session, progress, although slow, was noticeable. For the veterinary team, who closely followed his journey, Homelander became a symbol of strength and resilience. A year later, what had once seemed impossible became reality. Homelander had made a full recovery. The dog who had once been on the brink of death, tied to a past of neglect and pain, was now running free. His eyes, once dulled by suffering, now shone with a new light, the light of freedom. He not only walked, but ran with a joy that only those who have known the worst can truly appreciate. Homelander had finally achieved the life he always deserved. Today, Homelander lives surrounded by love. Adopted by a family who loves him unconditionally, he spends his days running through open fields, playing with his toys and receiving the affection that was always denied to him. He has become a happy dog, full of energy and gratitude. His past of suffering has not been forgotten, but it also no longer defines who he is. Now, he lives a life full of joy, affection, and, finally, peace.